PDP's Atiku Abubakar is contesting the results of the presidential elections which took place February 2019. His major weapon, his major evidence, is the results from a hacked Inec server. A lot of people are asking, how is he going to wield that weapon? How does that work in the Nigerian justice system? Is he capable of proving that these particular results that he has been pandering are actual results and prove that he won the elections? That's what we're looking at right here on Root Cause on Rootstv Nigeria. My name is Gloria Oji Amade.
Server is basically, if you define it, is like a computer which has purposeful hardware or software which can be used for particular service. Integrity, if we talk about the integrity of a particular database, because in security field we always talk about three things: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So if we talk about the integrity of a data, if data has been exploited from a particular server or database, then what we can do with, you can cross-verify the data, sample of a data with actual data which you have, and on that basis you can find out whether this is genuine or not. Because what happens generally, whenever any intruders or hackers, they hack something, they always release some sample of it to as a proof of concept or as a proof of hack, that yes, we had actually hacked it and we have this sample. In that case scenario, there are three IDs in particular product. For example, product ID is the ID which given by any organization to ensure it's about the version of the product. It's also unique, but that is not exactly the same of the serial number or the product key. But there is also one very unique number on every server is the MAC ID or the physical address. So through MAC ID, it can be traced back that this is the particular device or this is a particular server where this database was, or particular the data was residing, and from there this has been extracted. So it all depends upon the MAC or the physical address, but we cannot say it from the outside. Only the authorized persons who have the access, or the manufacturers, or who has the service providers or the product or solution providers, they can tell that what exactly, or whether it is genuine or not. Yes, definitely, because Microsoft, Oracle, and all those companies, they do have a lot of expertise and very hardcore expertise to investigate this, or to find out and trace what has happened, when it was happened, and how it was happened, what was the modus of operandi, and they do have this kind of expertise to know what kind of things was happened. So yes, they can find out the details.
And I have right here a doctor of law in the person of Cosmos Anyakudu. Now, the interesting thing about it is that you have been researching a lot on evidential law. Should I put it that way?
Yes.
Evidential law. So let us go deep into this. What Atiku Abubakar has, is that enough? First of all, is it admissible in court? Number two, is that enough to prove that he actually did win the elections?
This, I want to emphasize, Gloria, is not a question of public debate. It's not a question of a trial by media. It is purely a legal issue. So being a legal issue, we have to go to the law for the answers. So where do we find the answers to this? Evidence Act of 2011. What is the content of it? Generally speaking, Gloria, all evidence, anything that can prove or disprove a fact in issue in court is evidence. But this evidence can be oral, it can be documentary. In this case, Atiku is preferring a documentary evidence. This evidence that Atiku is preferring is not the usual evidence that we prefer, documentary evidence like a certificate or some document or records of financial accounts of a company. It is a very highly specialized kind of evidence, and this is where I think that a lot of people in the public don't understand. Section 13 of the Evidence Act of 2011 has given the general description of what documentary evidence is. And now in the days of internet and cyber and computerization, so the extracts from a computer will now fall in evidence. But the extraction, the examination, authentication, the forensics required to give credibility to such evidence is something I think may be lacking. There may be dearth, yes, of because this is not something my laptop, check what is in my laptop.
He has
said about a server and which may not be hosted even in this country, and I've heard things about America and Microsoft.
He actually said he's going to bring experts from IBM, Oracle, and Microsoft to prove that the information that he has is authentic. So if he's able to bring these people to court, first of all, will they be allowed to testify on his behalf, being that they're not Nigerians, and of course, well, they're makers of this this server and all of this content. Will they be allowed to testify in court? That's number one. Number two, will the information they give, will it be admissible in court and considered in court? And number three, do they have the capacity to demystify and of course break down that evidence enough for it to be accepted by court?
This raises a lot of issues, and I think that is the roadblock, as it were, that the Atiku team is going to meet. First of all is this: the Evidence Act in Section 1, subsection 2 says, well, you can bring any evidence you like, but not one that you are not entitled to bring. So Atiku is not entitled to get this evidence from anywhere you like, and the evidence was not in his custody. It might even raise concerns about Atiku's intention. Was this a premeditated evidence? Did he have people that were working that compromised the integrity of the process of Inec data collection, storage, and analysis? So how did he know he was going to use this before time? Did he plant anybody there? So there's going to be a lot of issues. If I was on the other side, I would have to test all these things.
May I ask you a question?
Yes.
This has come up. He is using information from a hacked Inec server, which is protected by law, which is protected by our national security. Could what he did, or this information, or whoever hacked it, could that be termed cybersecurity or cyber terrorism?
It could be termed cyber theft. This happened there is a very big issue globally going on with Julian Assange and WikiLeaks.
Exactly.
And what is the issue? The issue is this: if the government of the United States of America stores data securely, and this data is subject to privilege and Official Secrets Act in the case of Nigeria and some other countries have equivalent legislation, who has access to that? On one side, Julian Assange and the WikiLeaks team are saying, well, we're doing this for public good. America was bombing innocent citizens in another country, and what we've only done is to bring it to light. What bad would we have done to expose a government that was covering up an illegality? So, on the side of public consumption, you might find sympathy for this kind of view that serves America right. This kind of information should be out. Atiku could play to the public with that sentiment, but not to the courts, because what the courts would have to do will be to enforce the law. If you don't have access to that information, the process in which you have obtained it is relevant to even the credibility of that. If you have gone to INEC, did you plant it there? Those people that have brought it out, are they under your paid employment? Was it cooked up? What credibility can we have? And the second arm to this debate is obviously going to be the status of electronic data in the course of the presidential elections. There was a bill of the House of Assembly that was passed on to the Senate for concurrence. It did pass concurrence. It went to Mr. President. He declined assent.
The Electoral Act.
What use is this data from INEC server if that wasn't in the contemplation of the presidential elections? It wasn't in contemplation of the presidential elections. So how can you rely on that?
When INEC has continued to say we did not collate information electronically, we collated results manually.
That makes a nonsense of Atiku's claim that the server is the source of credible and relevant information for the purposes of determining the presidential election.
Where do you see this going?
What I think actually is this, again, it's, I often say the process of democracy. So this will go to court, it will play out. Some very important pronouncements will be made by the justices of the Court of Appeal and ultimately the Supreme Court, saying this is the kind of evidence that we need in the time of elections. This is the kind of way you can prove electoral or reproducible data from INEC server. It's actually, INEC is the only certified authority to prefer the content of their server, because only them can claim to be able to do that legitimately. And so I see that this is going to bring out a lot of issues, but I'll be watching for what the courts will pronounce on this.
Thank you so much for your insight on this matter. The fact that you're bringing us a lot of information on evidential law. A lot of people haven't even thought about that. We're definitely going to be following Atiku Abubakar's claims at the Elections Petitions Tribunal and all of the drama that's surrounded, because you know there will be a lot of drama. With all the information that you have heard right now, please go to the comment section and tell us what you think. Does Atiku stand a chance with the results from the hacked INEC server, or do you think really this is a no-go area? He's just pushing or kicking air. We want to get your thoughts. My name is Gloria Oje Emodi, and you've been watching Root Cause.